We had a double header. We were playing Italy on the Saturday and Denmark on the Wednesday. We got well beaten against Italy. I think it was 4-0. So Bobby Gould at that time, the manager, brought everybody together and said he wasn't going to continue. That was his last game. And basically said that he'd recommended myself and Neville Southall to take the next game on the Wednesday, which was news to me, news to Nev as well, because there was no inkling that's what he was going to do. So it was dropped on our toes to a certain extent. But we got on with it. We were based in Wrexham for the days leading up to the game. The game was actually at Anfield. I think it was significant, probably for the fact that I saw Neville Southall in a black suit for the first time ever. But I was actually playing still, so I was picked to play in the team itself, and Neville was on the sideline, and we got through it. And then obviously everybody went away. It was international football. Obviously I was going back to my club. But the Welsh FA were then inviting people to interview for the job, and I was actually away on holiday. I think it was in Cyprus, and I remember ringing up, making sure that my name was on the list, and I got an interview, and I got the job for 2 games. Maybe because they weren't too sure of what they were getting. And I had to make the best of it. We won the first one, lost the second one, but clearly it showed them enough in terms of my preparation and how I wanted to shape the team, and I got the job and kept it for the next 4 years. I enjoyed the experience, so I thought I'm at the stage in my career where I can do this. Clearly I was still playing, which was difficult. So I made the decision straight from the off that I wasn't going to play international football anymore. I was just going to separate both of them. I was clearly a player when I was at Blackburn at my club side, but when I turned up for the Welsh games, I was very much the manager and coach of the team. So it was a real learning experience. I was learning on the job. I mean, goodness me. I think it's clear when players go from playing situation and then get the opportunity, which top players get. They get the opportunity that maybe other people don't get because of the quality of their playing career. And all of a sudden, because they haven't had that time to build a philosophy or understand their own philosophy or what way they really believe their teams want to play, I think that's why some fall by the wayside. Sometimes top players who struggle to become managers just because they haven't had that time and that transition. For me, having the Welsh job, it was perfect because you were exposed to everything that was involved in football in terms of preparation, the game itself, usually against top-class opposition that were better than you. So you had to, tactically, you had to be up to speed. And all this would happen in a small space of time. You had to be really on your game, and then all of a sudden everybody went away. And then you sat in a darkened room and took a deep breath and said, goodness me, what the hell happened there? But then it was the onus was on you to make sure you learn from every experience. So you were exposed to it, then taken away from it. You were able to think, goodness me, I've got to be a lot better than I was last game. And I had 4 years of being able to build my own philosophy and have that space to understand what I needed to do better. And from my point of view, it's perfect. I look at Ryan Giggs now and his situation very similar to my situation, and I think that will be the making of him as a manager and as a coach. We got close numerous occasions. We always felt as an international team that the hardest bit was qualifying. Once we got there, we always felt we'd do okay because we had good players. Not in every position, but predominantly we were a good side. And with the likes, obviously, Ian Rush was a world-class keeper in Neville Southall, so we weren't bad. But the hardest part was qualification, and it was very, very difficult for us to qualify, given that more often than not we were either the 3rd or the 4th seed in the groups. So it was only the winner of the group that went through, that qualified. Then you were in the lottery. If you did get to the runners-up spot, then you had the opportunity into a playoff, but that wasn't a given. Thankfully, the format's changed now, and the first team goes through, and the second place follows, and that's allowed Wales obviously to qualify in recent times and showed everybody how good they are. So we've had that disappointment. I had that disappointment as a player, and we got really close, obviously in the Euros one year, and just missed out in the playoff against Russia. Difficult for us because huge team, huge country. We actually went over to Russia, got a 0-0 draw, so we're all thinking we'll bring them back to the Millennium Stadium and it'll be the time that we qualify, but we missed out, got beat 1-0, and on the night probably froze a little bit, and I included myself in that because I always look back on that and think my decision making on that night wasn't as good as it needed to be in terms of substitutions and understanding the momentum of the game. And I think that's the one thing as a coach you improve as you age, is that you understand the game and you understand what's actually happening in any given moment, and you understand because you've seen those circumstances before, and you know the correct decision to make substitutions. Whereas in that game, I always felt I wasn't quite as strong or as assertive as I needed to be in those moments. I was Welsh team manager for 4 years, 4 and a bit years actually, and I think I only had about 40 internationals. So I was still quite inexperienced as a manager and as a coach. Clearly now I've got 400, 500 games. I don't know what it is, but I look back on that and think, well, in the same circumstances, a lot of things I would have done different. Because of the 4 years development that I had with the Welsh squad, I knew how to prepare teams. I'd educate myself as well. I'd done all the courses. I was a UEFA Pro license holder at that point, 2003. My feelings in terms of how I wanted my team to perform, or what traits they needed to have to be successful, they were there. My philosophy was embedded. I knew which direction I wanted to go, rather than being a little bit lost maybe when I was initially the first team manager at Wales, because I wasn't quite sure which was the right way. But when I got the Blackburn job, I was very clear in terms of my intentions of how I wanted the team to perform.